Hey guys, welcome back to Eric Reacts with more Game of Thrones history and lore from Season 1. I overestimated how long I was going to be able to watch last time. Just got really tired. Let's see how far we can get this time. History of the Night's Watch by Maester Lewin.
Joining the Night's Watch, or taking the Black, is a singular honor for any northerner. For it was in the north, some 8,000 years ago, that the first men drove back the White Walkers, erected the wall, and established the sworn brotherhood that would guard the realm and its people from the dangers beyond. Regrettably, the Night's Watch no longer commands the widespread respect and admiration it once did. While House Stark and other houses in the northern regions continue to recognize its vital importance to the safety and stability of the realm, this view is not shared by the powerful houses of the southern kingdoms or their subjects. Most regard the Watch as a misguided, obsolete order made up of useless outcasts. Admittedly, the current Night's Watch is a shadow of its former glory. Their numbers have dwindled to less than 1,000. Of the 19 castles along the wall, only 3 are functional.
What?
Shadow Tower, Castle Black, and East Watch by the Sea. And the Watch's mandate of adding to the wall has been abandoned entirely. There are barely enough resources to maintain it.
That's not good, especially with winter coming.
Known as Wandering Crows, scour the dungeons and slums of the realm in hope of finding men to fill the ranks. While there is still the occasional highborn volunteer, the newest recruits are almost entirely made up of lowly criminals. Thieves, rapists, and murderers, sentenced to the wall as punishment for their crimes. The decline of this once fabled order is troubling, as the danger it guards against is all too real. While the White Walkers haven't been seen or heard from in ages, and may very well be the stuff of myth, barbarian tribes that dwell beyond the wall, known as wildlings, have been a menace to the north and its people for generations. At certain points in history, the disparate wildling tribes have united behind a single leader, a king beyond the wall, and attempted large-scale attacks against the realm. But thanks to the resourceful and courageous men of the Night's Watch, these so-called kings were soundly defeated. While many have lost faith,
I wonder if we're going to get another one.
The people of the North are steadfast in their belief that the Black Brothers will answer the call of duty. But with winter coming, diminished numbers, and a lack of widespread support, will they be ready?
I didn't know that they were so depleted. That's interesting to know. So, Jon Snow, The History of the Night's Watch by Tywin Lannister.
Long ago in the wintry north,
Okay.
an army of demons emerged from beneath the icy ground and spread darkness and despair across the land. Astride their monstrous spiders, flanked by giants, they wreaked havoc on the innocent, slaughtering thousands. All hope was lost until the fearless warriors of the first Night's Watch drove them back into the wintry mountains and built a magic wall to keep them from ever invading again. These stalwart brothers in black continue to protect us even to this day from the evils that lurk in the shadows. An absurd lie. A fairy tale spun by many a wet nurse in the north. To be sure, a giant wall does exist. The triumph of engineering, perhaps, but not of magic. As for the Night's Watch,
It's a lot of the
may have
same.
been a time centuries ago when there was prestige and honor in the miserable monastic life of a Black Brother. But now, the wall has become a glorified penal colony, full of outcasts, criminals, and assaulted ne'er-do-wells.
It's interesting that they're telling it from different.
Today, a typical man of the Night's Watch most
Different
likely
perspectives.
started out a lowly beggar, or a rapist, or a village idiot. As for the few high-born watchmen, they either fought on the losing side of a war, or were disowned by their parents for one reason or another. Those who persist in defending the Night's Watch will claim the Seven Kingdoms need protection from the wildling tribes of the far north. But there's little to fear from those primitives. They're a nuisance, but not sophisticated or powerful enough to be a significant threat to the realm.
Says Tywin
Any
Lannister,
talk of
the most
white
privileged guy in the
walkers
world.
returning with their armies of the dead and their giant spiders and their snarks is just that. Talk.
The Old Gods and the New by Bran Stark and Catelyn Tully.
In the Seven Kingdoms
That's-
of Westeros,
that's cool.
the dominant religion is the faith of the Seven. First brought to its shores by the Andals some 6,000 years ago.
6,000.
But there are some who still keep to the old way,
The Starks.
worshipping the faceless gods of the children of the forest and the first men.
Learned about that last time.
The old gods are countless, nameless spirits of nature. In ancient times, the children of the forest carved faces in the trunks of the weirwood trees, which became sacred symbols of their faith. In time, the first men adopted the children's gods as their own. Most castles at that time contained a godswood with a weirwood or heart tree at its centre.
Meanwhile, across the narrow sea, a new religion was born in the hills of Andalos. According to legend, the god of Seven revealed itself to the Andals, and the invasion of Westeros followed soon after. The Andals sailed across the sea on ships armed with weapons of steel. Some warriors carved a seven-pointed star into their skin as a symbol of their new faith.
The invaders destroyed most of the weirwoods in the southern lands, slaughtered the children of the forest wherever they could find them, and conquered every kingdom of the first men, save the north. In time, the faith of the Seven spread like wildfire throughout the land. The Seven is a single deity with 7 aspects, each symbolizing a different area of life, though most people refer to the Seven as separate gods.
The
Interesting.
mother is prayed to for mercy and watches over fertility, childbirth, and peace.
I'm gonna pause a second. I'm actually gonna speed this up a little because it's interesting, but I want to get through it a little faster. And yeah,
The father sits in judgment over souls. The warrior is prayed to for protection, valor, and skill in battle. The crone is a symbol of wisdom and foresight. The smith watches over creation and craftsmanship. The maiden symbolizes purity, love, and beauty. Finally, there is the stranger, rarely
the
praised,
stranger.
who represents death. The faith is highly organized and deeply influential in Westerosi politics and culture as the official religion of the monarchy. Worshippers gather in temples of the faith called septs. The seat of the faith is the Great Sept of Baelor, which is located in the capital city of King's Landing.
Still, in the north,
Okay.
where descendants of the first men dwell, worship of the old gods continues to this day, and the sacred faces of the weirwood trees keep close watch over the faithful.
The Field of Fire by Rob
The
Stark.
ascension of Aegon Targaryen was confirmed, and the fate of the Seven Kingdoms sealed on the Field of Fire. Kings Loren Lannister of the Rock and Mern Gardner of the Reach stood against Aegon's invasion. They commanded a united force of 600 banners, 5,000 mounted knights, and 50,000 men-at-arms. Aegon's host was vastly outnumbered, and when the army of the two kings charged, the invaders turned heel and ran. But Andal Might was no match for Dragonflame. When Aegon unleashed all 3 of his dragons, 4,000 souls were horrendously burned alive on the battlefield, King Mern among them. Realizing all hope was lost, King Loren surrendered. The Starks of Winterfell had no intention of submitting to Targaryen rule. They had reigned as kings in the north since the days of the First Men and were determined to resist the Targaryen invaders, just as they had resisted the Andals thousands of years before. King Torrhen Stark led his army to the Red Fork just east of Riverrun, hoping to succeed where Loren and Mern had failed. But when Torrhen saw the size of Aegon's now mighty host, along with his monstrous dragons, he knew he couldn't subject his followers to the horror of another Field of Fire.
Yeah.
He bent the knee and swore fealty to Aegon, who allowed the Starks to maintain their lordship over the region as Lords Paramount and Wardens of the North. Without question, Torrhen Stark saved thousands of lives that day. He was ever after known as the King Who Knelt.
The King Who Knelt. The Field of Fire by
The days
Viserys
of the Andals were
Targaryen.
numbered. One by one, their so-called kings were bending the knee or facing the wrath of Aegon Targaryen. Aegon of Old Valyria. Aegon who was blood of the dragon. After defeating the Iron Men at Harrenhal and slaying the last of the Storm Kings, Aegon and his sisters, Rhaenys and Visenya, set their sights on other prizes. The gold mines of the Rock and the fertile lands of the Reach. King Loren Lannister of the Rock and King Mern Gardner of the Reach foolishly thought their combined armies could beat back the Targaryen host. They rode forth together, their
Foolishly.
proud banners flapping in the wind, and faced off against Aegon in a vast golden field of wheat. The two kings commanded a massive force of nearly 60,000, and it appeared the day was theirs, until Aegon unleashed all 3 of his dragons for the first and only time. Each beast was named after the Valyrian gods of Aegon's forefathers. Visenya rode Vhagar, whose fiery breath could melt armor. Rhaenys rode Meraxes, whose jaws were big enough to swallow a horse whole. The greatest of all was Balerion the Black Dread, with fire dark as night and wings so huge whole towns were covered in shadow when he flew overhead. This magnificent creature was ridden by Aegon himself.
Of course.
4,000 men were bathed in glorious dragon flame that day, on what came to be known as the Field of Fire. King Mern was among the dead, and House Gardner died with him. His stewards, the Tyrells, surrendered his ancestral stronghold of Highgarden to Aegon, and were appointed Lords Paramount of the Reach and Wardens of the South. When Loren Lannister witnessed Mern's fate, he wisely bent the knee. Aegon spared Loren's life, and the Lannisters were made Lords Paramount of the Westerlands and Wardens of the West. After his triumph on the Field of Fire, Aegon's conquest was assured. In a short time, the so-called 7 kingdoms were melted down in the heat of the dragon's flame and transformed into a single realm. Aegon will forever be known as Aegon the Conqueror.
That's intense. Like, and now I didn't know that Aegon had three dragons, and now Daenerys has 3 dragons. That's gonna be storytelling wise. It makes sense to show her as the conqueror again, but it'll be interesting. The dragons sound much more powerful than, but that was thousands of years ago, right? Am I misremembering that? It's thousands of years ago, so weaponry has gotten better since then. Would they be able to take down dragons now, especially some younger ones? I don't know how long it'll take for Daenerys' dragons to get older. Anyway, The Order of Maesters by Maester Luwin. Maester Luwin.
In the far southwest of Westeros, at the mouth of the river Honeywine, lies the great stone city of Old Town. It is home to the Citadel, where men and boys from throughout the kingdoms come to receive their training as maesters. Maesters play an integral role in Westerosi society, serving as scholars, healers, and advisors to the nobility of the 7 kingdoms. This venerable order of learned men dedicate their lives to serving the realm, and are sworn to occupy a neutral position when it comes to power and politics. Upon completing his training at the Citadel and taking his vows, a maester renounces his family name and takes a vow of celibacy.
Wow.
He is assigned to a castle of keep, and duty-bound to serve as its counselor and healer, even if control of the castle changes hands. A maester's allegiance is to the realm, not to any one family. His badge of office is a great chain, forged from links of different metals, which he wears around his neck. It is a reminder of his role as a servant of the realm, and is never to be removed. A maester forges his chain with study, and each link represents the mastery of a different kind of learning. For instance, a silver link signifies mastery of the medicinal arts. A golden link represents the study of money and accounting. An iron link indicates knowledge of warcraft. Ravenry is an especially important skill for a maester, as it is he who breeds, trains, and maintains carrier ravens for the delivering of messages throughout the land. There are some maesters who have earned a link forged of Valyrian steel. This signifies knowledge of the higher mysteries, commonly known as magic. Only one maester in 100 possesses such a link, as this field of study is frowned upon by many in the order. It is possible magic may have existed for a time long ago, but most consider the higher mysteries to be long gone from this world. Service as a maester is a noble calling, one of vital importance to a prosperous realm. It is little wonder there are some who refer to the order as the Knights of the Mind.
Why would anybody want to do this, though? I don't understand people's motivations in this. Like, why would someone give up everything in their own lives to serve? I guess because I live in a capitalistic society in the United States where everybody has to worry about themselves, and the realm, the country as a whole, doesn't care 2 shits about people. That it makes sense that people are always looking out for themselves and not thinking about the higher cause. There is no higher cause in America, really. It's corporations. Yeah, I'm getting too much into that, but yeah, it's just really weird to see people be like, yeah, let's give up our entire lives and serve the realm. Like they don't get anything out of it. Like, I understand a lot of soldiers. I looked up the stat. It was 95% of soldiers go into the military for the financial benefit, and you don't get a financial benefit from being a maester. I don't know why I'm saying maester. Because M-A-E is pronounced Mai, but then I've played Final Fantasy X before. Maester, it's Maester. All right. Anyway, let's continue. Mad King Aerys by Maester Luwin. I am enjoying. I think the watching at a higher speed really helps because it's keeping me awake a little bit more. It's not that I find it boring at all. It's just that the information, hearing narration, kind of makes me sleepy. Mad King Aerys.
As word of King Aerys' erratic and troubling behavior spread throughout the Seven Kingdoms, Lord Rickard Stark continued to serve his king faithfully as Warden of the North. The proud father of 4 children, his daughter Lyanna was engaged to Robert Baratheon, the young lord of Storm's End.
He's from
Centuries of peace
Storm's End.
between the North and the Iron Throne ended the day Rhaegar Targaryen, Prince of Dragonstone, abducted Lyanna. Enraged, Brandon Stark rode to King's Landing, demanding the release of his sister and the death of Rhaegar.
Oh.
Aerys arrested him for treason and called his father to come to the capital to ransom him.
Oh, that's what
When Lord
happened.
Rickard complied, Aerys, now utterly mad, arrested him for treason as well. Lord Rickard
Wow.
demanded a trial by combat. Aerys declared fire the champion of House Targaryen and had Lord Rickard suspended from the rafters of the throne room while pyromancers lit a blaze beneath him.
What?
Brandon was brought into the throne room. A leather cord attached to a strangulation device was wrapped around his neck. Aerys told Brandon his father was a dead man, but there was a chance to save him. The
Really?
longsword was placed on the floor just out of Brandon's reach, and the more he struggled to reach it, the more the cord tightened around his throat. Brandon Stark strangled himself, trying to free his father, who was roasted alive in his own armor. The entire court
Jesus.
stood and watched this atrocity take place. Sir Jaime Lannister and the King's Guard among them. The Mad King was reported to have laughed hysterically as these 2 noble men were tortured and brutally killed before him. Seeking to rid the world of all his supposed enemies, Aerys called for the head of Rickard's younger son, Eddard Stark, and Lyanna's betrothed, Robert Baratheon. He sent word to Lord Jon Arryn, who had fostered both young men in the Eyrie, to apprehend them. Instead, Lord Arryn joined houses Stark and Baratheon in rebellion. Robert vowed to kill Rhaegar Targaryen and get his beloved Lyanna back.
Mad King Aerys by Robert Baratheon.
Aerys Targaryen was the last of his name to sit on the Iron Throne. Known far and wide as the Mad King, his was a reign of instability and terror. The Seven Kingdoms are well rid of him and his kind. Oh, he may have appeared to be a capable ruler at first, but that was due in no small part to his councillors, led by the hand of the king, Tywin Lannister. There may have been years of
Tywin
peace
was
and
the
prosperity
hand.
during
I
Aerys'
didn't know
reign,
this.
but it was Tywin who was really running the country as Aerys spiraled further and further into insanity. The dragon spawn were famous for losing their minds. It was the price they paid for centuries of keeping the bloodlines pure. And Aerys
Oh, that's
than
why?
happily continued the noble sister-fucking tradition of his forefathers.
Ugh.
As the years passed, Aerys' behavior became increasingly erratic. He cut himself so often on his Iron Throne, many referred to him as King Scab, though never to his face.
Wow.
It was rumored he had developed an obsession with wildfire, and was known to inflict horrific punishments on those he considered enemies, including burning them alive. As his paranoia and bloodlust grew, he had a bitter falling out with Lord Tywin, who had served the crown faithfully for 20 years. At least Tywin was able to leave the job with his life and fortunes intact.
Yeah.
Subsequent hands of King Aerys weren't so fortunate. Then the Targaryens went too far. The Crown Prince Rhaegar abducted Lyanna Stark, daughter of Rickard Stark, the Lord of Winterfell. She was my betrothed.
Why? Why did
She
he
was
do
my
that?
beloved. Beautiful and spirited woman, and I loved her more than life itself.
Did they have any
Rhaegar
children?
With Lyanna, hiding her away in Dorne. What harm he inflicted on the poor girl, the gods only know. Brandon Stark, Lyanna's eldest brother, was outraged. He rode to King's Landing to confront the king and demand his sister's safe return. Instead, Aerys had him executed, his father, Rickard Stark, as well. There wasn't much left to discuss after that. Aerys feared their loved ones would seek revenge for what he did. He was right to be afraid. Aerys wasted no time in calling for the heads of Brandon's younger brother.
That looks like
Margrave
Jorah
Stark.
Mormont.
And my head too, of course. I'm sorry he didn't come looking for it himself. Alongside Jon Arryn of the Vale, the man who fostered Ned and I as children, Baratheons, Starks, and Tullys all called their banners. Once our rebellion began, the Mad King's days were numbered.
Mad King Aerys by Tywin Lannister.
As Aerys Targaryen's behavior grew more and more erratic, the task of ruling the Seven Kingdoms fell to me, Tywin Lannister. I had served Aerys for nearly 20 years, and as a result, the realm had prospered. The royal coffers were full, and the land was at peace.
And you lined your own
Aerys
pockets.
grew increasingly hostile, jealous of the success many credited to me. My power and influence unnerved him. The captain of my personal guard, Sir Elling Payne, was once overheard making offhand comments regarding who was the true ruler of Westeros.
Oh.
When the king was given this information, he had Elling Payne's tongue ripped out with hot pincers. It was my desire to unite the houses of Lannister and Targaryen through marriage. My daughter Cersei would marry Aerys' eldest son, Prince Rhaegar. Such a union made perfect sense for all parties. However, Aerys' senses had begun to leave him quite some time earlier. Instead of uniting the royal family with its most loyal and powerful ally, Aerys chose instead to insult my family, indicating that such a match was beneath Rhaegar.
Wow.
Instead, he chose Elia Martell of Dorne to be Rhaegar's wife.
Martell.
To rub salt in my wounds, Aerys appointed Jaime, my son, to the King's Guard. The King's Guard may be an honor for lesser families than ours, but it is a lifetime appointment that forces him to renounce all family holdings.
Ugh.
This creates a difficulty in naming an heir to Casterly Rock.
Right.
But Aerys knew all that. I had grown tired
Wow.
of his constant provocation. Thus, I resigned my post as Aerys' hand and returned to Casterly Rock with my considerable forces. When Robert Baratheon rebelled against the throne, Aerys grew fearful that I would join with Robert's forces and rise against him. He thought himself clever and kept Jaime very close, as if warning me. He sunk deeper and deeper into delusion, paranoia, and violence. I've heard it said he became obsessed with wildfire, a substance which, once lit, cannot be extinguished. Convinced he had enemies all around him, he wouldn't allow blades in his presence, save for those of his King's Guard. Alas, that proved to be his undoing.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna pause right there. That's really, really interesting. I didn't know like a lot of the stuff there. Yeah. So Jaime didn't want to be the Crown's Guard. I didn't know this. So Jaime was appointed there as a way to get back at Tywin, or to keep Tywin in line. And wow, that paints Jaime killing Aerys in a completely different light. So Jaime has no claim to any of his worldly possessions. Like, that doesn't seem right though. I feel like he's going to be able to get out if he really wants to, especially since Joffrey's king now. And I mean, Cersei's the one controlling him probably. And it's interesting that people talked about Tywin and Jaime that way, like not Tywin, Jaime, Aerys and Tywin that way, because like who's really in charge? Because Joffrey's gonna go through the same thing. He's gonna be mad. I have a feeling he's gonna be mad. Like, oh, who's really controlling the realm? Is it Joffrey or is it Cersei? And I have a feeling he's not gonna respond well. Also, Tyrion. It's gonna be like a three-way thing because Cersei's really, really influencing Joffrey, and Tyrion is the hand now. So, and he already doesn't like Joffrey and Tyrion already don't like each other. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. We've got another 30 minutes of this. I'm gonna hold off on that for now and continue next time. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Well, I'm not gonna finish it next time. I'm gonna watch it later, but they're all gonna be uploaded at the same time. So check out for that. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye, friends.